Let's get things started. Ready? Go!
What's up, guys? It's the Legendary Renze back with another video. Happy New Year to everybody. Hope y'all had a great New Year day, and I hope y'all start off this month and this year on a good foot. That aside, let's get into the video. So, as the title says, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Now, you're probably going to ask, what do I mean by Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? It's obviously very ambiguous the way I put it. But this is in reference to the idea or the problem with the idea that people have towards men who have a Madonna and whore complex. If you don't know what the Madonna whore complex is, I'll put up a little script to explain it. But in layman's terms, it's essentially that men simultaneously want pure women who act like sluts, essentially. But the caveat or the contradiction is that for a woman to have the acumen of a slut, she cannot be pure. Hence the Madonna whore complex. Now, a lot of people, men in particular, and of course women, take issue with this notion that men have. You know, because it's honestly, I would say it's honestly unfair, right? Because I mean, you want two things that are antithetical to each other in one person, right? But I would say that realistically, I would want to believe, or better yet, realistically, I think it's more so that men want a woman who, before they meet him, were pure, and then as she's with him, they become his slut. That's how at least I took it. But nevertheless, you have, of course, men, of course, the cuckolded blue pill men who take issue with it, because how can you have a woman be a slut and a virgin at the same time? You can't do that, you know. All this shit about women go through so much, and oh my god. And then of course on the other side you have the women who hate it, because realistically women hate the very idea that they're expected to do anything. I mean, that's where it's getting to at this point, where if you ask a woman, you know, what are you going to do? What can I expect from you? They tell you some of the most, excuse me, they tell you some of the most metaphysical, anomalous, shapeless shit ever about what they're expected to do and what you can expect from them. Realistically, women hate the idea of having anything expected from them, especially from men. So of course they hate it. But the reason why, even though when you really look at the Madonna whore complex, it is contradictory, the reason why I don't even care to, you know, go against it or to shame men who have this complex is because women have a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde complex. Now, if you don't know who Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are, I'll put another little script. Am I even saying that word right? Is it excript or excerpt? Shit, I'm probably saying that word wrong. Fuck. Either way, I'll put a little, you know, tag here to explain it. But nevertheless, it's a character written by, I think, a Scottish novelist in the 1800s. Well, actually, I think 1700s. And it's really just about how this, you know, professor of science who in his regular life was a mild-mannered, when he made this concoction, brought out a beast or an animal in him, right? And with women, if you look at the proclivities that women engage in when they look for men who they find desirable, you'll realize that women have this complex with themselves where they want men who exhibit levels of actual danger or the threat of it, but at the same time don't exhibit it towards them. And as much as I dislike Jordan Peterson, he gave a great example of this in one of his video breakdowns. This was long before his whole trans thing in Canada, where he listed, if you look at the top selling characters that women read in their young adult novels, it's pirates, vampires, werewolves, and doctors. And the way he explained it was that these are all icons of power as well as rebelliousness and freedom. But at the same time, a vampire, werewolf, doctor, and a pirate also exhibit, well, minus the doctor, of course, but the other three, also exhibit a high level of danger with that freedom and lack of stability. So it's always funny to me when I hear people complain about the Madonna whore complex for men, while at the same time women have this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde fetish, where they want men who are dangerous to everything else but them, or better yet, they want to be the one who tames this wild man, right? There's also that complex too. I think it's like they think that they can fix a broken man or some shit like that. But then again, this all goes back to the fact that men can't have preferences in women. Men can't state standards in women. But women, they can say some of the most uncouth, out-of-pocket, wild shit. And not only will society not care, but society will go out of its way to cater to that shit.
Prowess, that might be part of it, but it also might be part of the solution to the free rider problem. And so women are in a conundrum with agreeableness, right? Because they need a mate who's agreeable enough so they can bond with them and that will care for their children and that cares in general. But they need someone who's disagreeable enough so that they're capable, let's say, of dealing with free riders. And
right. So one way of saying that is agreeable with respect to them, but the potential for being disagreeable with respect to those others when they need to be punished or they need to ward off an attacker.
Right, and you could see that that's a real tight line to walk down. And part of what constrains agreeableness, let's say from a temperamental perspective, so if you're low in agreeableness, let's say, well, you're less empathic, you're more competitive, you're rougher, blunter, tougher. And so what helps modulate that? Well, some of that would be conscientiousness. And so in the dark triad types, you see low conscientiousness as well. Really low agreeable, high conscientious types are quite interesting because you can trust them because they'll do their duty, but they're very blunt and direct and harsh. And that can be helpful as well because they'll tell you unpleasant truths even if they hurt your feelings. So there's some utility in that. So you can imagine that agreeableness can be modified, let's say, by conscientiousness. So that takes the psychopathy edge off it, because low agreeableness and low conscientiousness, that's a rough combination.
Yes.
And so, because there's nothing constraining it. And so women are attracted to some degree to the lower agreeable types, and I think that accounts for the bad boy paradox that you described, at least in part. And maybe it takes further experience and wisdom on the part of judicious women to see where they can get the disagreeableness that's necessary, but it has to be hemmed in by something like, well, conscientiousness.
Right. One other reason that I think that women are attracted to the dark triad, at least the younger women, is that they're often risk takers. So they will do things like motorcycle jumping or ski jumping, or take physical risks, speeding in their cars, and so the kind of daredevil mentality, and women, at least younger women, find that exciting. But
I wonder if they confuse that with trait openness, right? Because the open types are going to experiment. They're going to try lots of different things, and that daredevil, I don't care, might be easily not easily distinguished from the capacity to engage in creative problem-solving pursuits, and perhaps with courage as well.
I think courage, and also one of the, that people who take risks often in fact have the ability to afford those risks, if you will. So for example, doing some dangerous athletic feat, if you're not an athletic person, you're going to fail at that. And so in some sense, some of these daredevil behaviors, I think, are kind of cues that you have the ability to afford to take those risks. But these guys, these Hyde Dark Triad guys, are absolutely disastrous as long-term mates. So that they might be exciting for sure. I mean, that's why I think that women, as they mature, stop being attracted to these guys, especially if they're looking for a long-term mate, because these are guys, the Dark Triad, they're more likely to cheat. They're more likely to seduce and abandon. They're more likely to engage in deceptive mating tactics. And so they tend to be big trouble when it comes to long-term mating.
Yeah, well, it also looks like they value themselves greatly. And, sometimes people value themselves greatly. And so they have high mate desirability in your terminology, or maybe some little corruption of your terminology. And again, I think the Dark Triad guys mimic that. It's like, I'm so good, I can afford to, distribute my sexual prowess wherever I see fit. And there's some of that happens as men rise in competence hierarchies as well. Well,
yes.
It happens with women when they rise in their hierarchy.
Hi, Wendy. My name is Kendra. How you doing?
Very well, Kendra. How can I help you?
So I've been married for 6 years, and me and my husband just had our first baby girl about 9 months ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So before we were married, he promised me we would have 2 kids, and now he doesn't want any more. My friends think I should trick him and stop taking my birth control. What do you think, Wendy?
I'm embarrassed to say this because I don't like spousal lying. However, men have never been in control of our bodies. We're the ones in control. I'm not going to suggest that you do that, but look into my eyes and tell me what I'm saying. Okay? He promised.
All right.
Wait, can I just take a quick poll? Clap if you think that she should trick him. My people, up next, everybody. How do you handle a sassy 2-year-old?
I mean, the best example I can give of young adult fiction geared towards women that exhibits the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde fetish is 50 Shades of Grey and the Twilight series. But both Edward and the guy was Christian Grey, both dangerous men in their own right. But their love interests in those books can't get enough of that dangerous dick. can't enough of that dangerous dick, So they endangered themselves with these men in countless situations and still come back to them. This also would probably explain why, if you look at a lot of these domestic violence cases, it's always with women and long-time boyfriends who, I promise you, other people have told her, hey, leave this dude, this guy beats you, this guy treats you poorly, he's always in jail, leave him. And she'll just say, no, I can't, I can't do it, I can't leave my man alone, I can't do it, he loves me, I can't do it. So some dumb shit. But yeah, tell me what you guys think. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is what, from now on, I'm going to call it that. Like, that women have a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde fetish. I'm going to call it that. If men have a Madonna whore complex, women have Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde fetish. That's what I'm going to call from now on. But nevertheless, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.